Hello and welcome back to another TW unboxing video, and this time I'll be boldly going where I haven't been before to take a look at Star Trek Attack Wing. Now this is the ship-to-ship combat game. We've got three of the ships that we get in the set here, and this is the starter set for playing Star Trek Attack Wing. If I just flip the box over on the back here, we can see a little bit of the contents and also a brief overview as to how the game is played. So let's open this box up and take a look at the contents inside. So first things first, we have the rulebook. Now first of all, we have the quick start rules, which are a 4-page guide, which will give you everything you need to get started and playing Attack Wing straight away. It guides you through all the different components and the cards that you'll be using in this game, and also gives you some example diagrams that explain how movement works, how the dials work, how combat works, also how the dice work in terms of combat. And this is a kind of stripped down version of the main rules. There's a few features which are missing, such as the actions that you can have at the end of your movement, but this is a great way to actually learn how to play a game. And if you're new to Attack Wing, I would highly recommend reading through this first of all. Now once you've finished with that and you've played a few games, you can move on to the main rules of play rulebook. This pretty much explains everything we've already seen in the quick start guide, however it goes into a little bit more detail. For example, we have a few more diagrams explaining exactly what different actions do, and obviously you can have you can see the dial here. For example, we'll look into this more, where you've got green, white and red actions, and it just depends on how difficult to maneuver that is to pull off. We also have these various actions, such as evasive maneuvers, scans, battle stations, cloaks, sensor echoes. These are all different things you can use to kind of give yourself a slight tactical edge in the game, as apart from just moving around and shooting other enemy ships. Everything is really nicely laid out in this book. The rules themselves are really easy to follow. The diagrams make everything exceptionally easy to read through and understand as well. So kind of going through here, we have all different examples of the rules, and then we come to two missions just right at the end here. You see we've got mission 1 and mission 2, which is the new source of lithium and also the chase. And on the final page we have a quick reference guide, which is great for just kind of quickly looking at when you're playing the game, as opposed to having to flick through the rulebook every single time. So now that we've looked at some of the rules, let's move on to some of the tokens. So here we have a selection of the tokens that you get in Star Trek Attack Wing, and you can see the really nice thick card here, which should take some beating throughout the games that you play. We've got a various kind of array of different things. So for example here we have a little minefield counter there. We also have some objective / obstacle tokens, which is double-sided, and the rest of these here are mainly used for your game. So we've got a little mission token there. We've got some target lock tokens. Now these are, you can see here we've got A, and we've also got some B's, some C's and some D's. And these are basically just to identify which ships have locked onto which other ships. We also have some of the action tokens. So for example, we've got battle stations, scans, evasive maneuvers, and we've also got the cloak here, which you can see flipped over to be enabled and also disabled. Disabled token, and also the ship shields, which also, when you flipped over, you can see the disabled version of the token there. So plenty of tokens there. We also get this giant ship token made out of the same card. It's just double-sided. So we've got one, this red barren planet, and this rather Earth-like, lush-looking planet on the other side. So now we've looked at the tokens, let's move on to some of the ships. So here we have the three ships that are found in Star Trek Attack Wing. On the left here we have the Romulan ship, followed by the Federation USS Enterprise D, and also the Klingon ship here on the end. The ships are a nice plastic, slightly flexible, which means if you're going to drop it, it's probably not going to do too much damage to it. It's painted as well, some of the details have been picked out. You can see the different lights and windows picked out on the US Enterprise here. Now these ships have been recreated from the Next Generation's TV series. You probably recognise them from there. And if I just take this off the flight stand, this clear acrylic flight stand that we have here, you can see that we have the stats on the bottom of the base here. Now starting from the top, we have the attack value, the agility value, the hull rating, and also the shield value at the bottom there as well. On the left, on the right here, we have the actions that the ship can take, as well as the ship's name, and this is the firing arc in which you can fire in. Now in addition to these, we also have these cards which kind of accompany. You can see the details are pretty much the same on either one, except from this details one of the US Enterprise's special abilities, which is to, instead of making a normal attack with your primary weapon, you can fire in any direction at range 1 to 2 with 3 attack dice instead of the usual 4. So we've got some various cards for the other ships. We also get these blank Federation Starship Galaxy class if you want to use a generic no-named ship, and usually the values are slightly less, but the cost is lower. So for example here you can see the difference between the shield ratings. Now in addition to the ship cards, we also get captains, and you can see here I've got Jean-Luc Picard here, and he just plops in the front of the base, so you can see we've got the captain skill on the front here, and this is important in determining which team and which ships go first in both shooting and movement. We also have the associated card as well, and usually these captains do have a special ability, especially if they're named here. So we have Jean-Luc Picard's captain card, but we also have a generic Federation captain card as well. And this is the same for all of the other, both the Klingons and also the Romulans as well. So additionally, we also have another named character here. We have William T. Riker. As you can see, he's got his own special ability. But then we also have a few upgrade cards. Now in this case, it's we've got some crew members. So we've got Data, Geordi LaForge, Miles O'Brien, and also Worf as well. And this card here just details the different maneuvers that the ship can take. So you don't have to keep kind of scrolling through your little dial here, but we'll look at that in a moment. And we also get a few additional upgrades you can see here. So we've got Engage, Antimatter Mines, and also Photon Torpedoes, which all have their own special abilities. So now that we've looked at the ships, let's move on to how movement works in Star Trek Attack Wing. Now, if you're unfamiliar as to how the game works, let me give you a quick overview. So each ship has their own dial here. You can see you've got different arrows and also numbers on each of these sections here. Now these arrows and numbers associate with these particular rulers here. The number associated with the speed, which is also the length of these particular rulers, and the arrow determining the direction as well. So if I just bring it round to, let's just find the two left here. So this is this particular rule, as you can see there, the arrows match up in that particular instance. So the way you would actually maneuver your ship using this ruler, if I just put these to one side, is you'd place your ship down like here. You would then place your marker down, and this will just be placed at the ship's base. You can see a little bit of a groove there. And then your movement will be completed when you move the ship, keeping the ruler in place to the end. You can see there's a groove at the back there. And that's how movement is done in Star Trek Attack Wing. Now each ship has their own different set of maneuvers, and you can see here we've also got some different colours. Now the white is the normal manoeuvre, and if I just spin it around to find a red manoeuvre, now these are manoeuvres which are a little bit more tricky for the ship to pull off, would put the engines under strain, and as such you would put a engine, kind of a strain token next to the ship when it's performed this action, and in order to perform another red action you would need to perform a green action be first, which is a very, very simple manoeuvre for the ship to pull off. So it's a very, very simple way of determining movement in this game, and it also adds an element of kind of a forethought and tactical planning, because each player will then using their own will lock in their particular action, put that face down, and then you would do the same, and then you are revealed at the same time and your actions are performed simultaneously. So that was movement in Attack Wing. Now let's move on to how combat works. Now in Star Trek Attack Wing, combat is very, very simple indeed, and it's controlled by these coloured dice. So we've got red dice on the left here and green dice on the right here. Now the red dice associate the weapon value of the ship. You can see it's 4 in this case, we've got 4 dice, and the Klingon ship has 1 agility value, and therefore we have 1 dice. Now we also have various tokens, and for example we've got these shield tokens here. If you can see on the blue sections we've got 3, but let's say for the example here this particular ship has been reduced down to 1 shield at the moment. Now the attack is worked out by, first of all, measuring the range, and we've got this range ruler here which is split into 3 sections, and the closer you are the more likely you are to hit, the further away you are the less likely you are to hit, for example. Now what we would do in the combat, where the attacker would roll his number of dice for the value that he's got in his red section there. For this case we get 3 hits. Now this particular one is ignored in this example, it just counts as a blank value, and then the defender would roll their dice. And unfortunately they were looking for an evasion, however they got what would be a blank dice in this case. So then we compare any evasions rolled to any hits rolled and negate them, but in this case there weren't any, so 3 hits are scored against the Klingon ship. Now the first one is negated by the shield token, so we remove that, and this remains with 2 damage. So this is worked out by adding these cards to the ship card, you can see here, so that would negate 2 damage. And then we can see the whole value is 5, so as soon as 5 of these cards are stacked up on this ship, the ship is destroyed. Now if we were to score a critical hit, for example, you can see here, we would flip the cards over instead and use these special kind of critical hit abilities. So in this case it's a weapons malfunction, which would reduce the primary weapon power by 1. So it's you want to really avoid getting these hits. These aren't too bad, but weapons malfunctions and any other kind of engine damage that you can get from these cards can be quite devastating. So that was a very, very simple overview as to how combat is calculated in Star Trek Attack Wing. You can see it's very, very simple to learn, and also very, very simple in the game. You can get really fast-paced games by using this method. So now that we've looked at all of the tokens, the cards, and also the ships themselves, let's move on to get an overall summary for this game. So that was my overview of Star Trek Attack Wing. Now I've covered the core mechanics of movement and combat, however there are a lot more features about this game which can really kind of extend the lifespan of it. For example, you've got your own building of forces. I mean, these are just the starter ships that you can get. There's a whole bunch more that you can buy, and you can actually build on your forces and have a few Federation ships or a few Klingon ships or a few Romulan ships, for example. Now the game itself is fantastically easy to learn, very, very straightforward. You can pretty much open the box straight away, pop out the tokens from the sheets that you get, have a quick look through the quick start guide and be playing almost immediately. The gameplay is fast-paced and fluid, which means you can get a few games in over an evening as opposed to just setting up one large game and having to just battle your way through that. You can quite easily get a few more team members as well. You can have maybe 3 different opposing teams facing off against each other as well. Now, whilst the rule set is quite solid for Star Trek Attack Wing, one of the things that does disappoint me a little bit are the miniatures themselves. Now, whilst the sculpts are quite nice, I find that the paint jobs are very, very lacking. It's pretty much just the base colour of the ship and a few details picked out. I mean, especially when you compare it to the ships that you get in X-Wing, you see a lot more detail on there. I mean, it's not too much of a problem if you don't mind painting your own miniatures, but for an out-of-the-box experience, the quality isn't quite there. However, if you're a big Star Trek fan and really looking for a nice casual game that you can get started playing straight away, then Star Trek Attack Wing is the game for you. Now, Star Trek Attack Wing is the RRP of $29.99, which is an excellent value considering that you get everything you need to actually start playing the game, including the 3 ships below. Now, what I'll do is I'll pop a link in the description below, which will take you to a store finder, which will take you to the, if you're in the UK, at least to your nearest provider, which will sell this game. So, until next time, thanks for watching, and goodbye.